So much for that test. Okay. Hey, Joycey, I'm a mess of things, so I hope that everybody can find me. I'm trying Manicam, and I thought I had it figured out, but obviously not. Use these. It just irritates me no end. But never fear, I will figure it out. Yeah, I wonder what I did with my book. Hang on. I had it right here. Oh, come on, play with me. Play with me. I'll be right back, Josie. Oh, wait, there it is. I spy with my little eye. Not gonna get flustered. I'm prone to do. Deep breath. Skip ad. Okay, we got some folks found us. Joycey, Janet, Beth. I was all set up to test Minicam, and I had my iPhone set up to take a picture of my iPad source photo. And I got right down to going live, and it didn't go live. Problem is, I can't get it where y'all can see it. Let me get this up where I can see it. I was busy mini-camming and didn't get my other source picture. Y'all be patient with me. Please and thank you, ma'am. Now that's what I used. I always hate to show the the original source photo. If I'm doing a portrait, I have to make a likeness. If I'm playing, I'm practicing. So this paper is not watercolor paper. It's some kind of a card or a mixed media paper. Hey, Gail. You can kind of see it. Anyway, we're going to Minicam. Well, I mean, I'm just saying. I may have to get some instruction from Shauna. But then if I want to paint with you guys, if I were to be doing this, I'd want to have my screen looking like this. So that means I need Minicam so I could have two cameras, and StreamYard so I could have company. And company, I think, is a good thing to try to do with this kind of painting because it's boring to watch somebody paint. So we're a little after, quite a bit after, so we're going to go ahead and start. Oh, let me show you something else before I start that. I was sitting here drying away. I did some tea dyed and coffee stained papers. They're not dry yet. But how I did it was a combination of Robin. These are security envelopes. Now I lost the glassine for that one. But I layered these in a tub, like you used to store clothes in. It's about 6 inches tall. I layered paper with stencils. And I got some patterns. This happens to be one of Patty Tolly Parrish's. Just because I recognize it, I don't know that anybody else would. It's better on this side. So that made some nice papers. And sometimes the pattern doesn't show up until they're totally dry. You get some nice little patterns. Hey, Cheshire. I'm going to flip through these real fast. I was trying to get them dry before y'all came on, but before we went live, but then got sidetracked with the mini cam thing. So I pretty much put a stencil and paper to stencil and paper, and I just layered them any old which way I could get them to fit. But that way you've got something printed on each side. But it was an easy way to do it. Robin does hers on her kitchen countertop. My kitchen countertop is about like my desk space. Randy's the cook, but he's got about 6 inches to cook in. That one turned out really good. And it was a way to use my stencil girl stencils. So I just grabbed a handful of them. Here's another patty. And went to town layering them, and it doesn't hurt them at all. Now, these could be re-wet, and I may do that and get some of this dark sticky off, because that'll go ahead and stain some more papers if I do that. That one turned out pretty good. A woman in Australia, and her name is Mystic something. I need to put a link to that. But she's the one who kind of invented the putting it in the bucket. This one's cool because I had something water soluble on that stencil. So that's cool. Everything's cool. Another good one. And what she used in her bucket were pieces of plastic tablecloths. Apparently you can buy the thin plastic like doily patterns and stuff at Hobby Lobby where they sell yardage. And that's what she used. And then she could just fold those pieces of plastic over. You got a more continuous pattern. Good one here. So those are good journal pages, especially with a different one on the front than the back. Now, I don't know why some work and some don't. And here's some real dark ones, and these were up toward the top. So I will definitely re-wet these. And get some of that to go away, and it'll lighten up quite a bit. I also had some rust pieces sitting on the very top, and that made some of this dark color. And then here we go back to some lighter ones. These were toward the bottom. And another, don't get a heat dryer anywhere near this glassine because it will melt real easy. Some of these are totally plain, not by design. I did a few doilies. Doesn't matter that they tear because I'm only going to tear them up in pieces anyway. So this ought to hold me for a while. Now I've got to make that book, do my page signatures from Rosemary's last week, the one with the little encaustic. I know I've shown it to you, but you're going to see it again. And so I knew we had some 11 by 17 paper. I think this is 1114. Yeah, it is. But I knew we had some 11 by 17 paper. to make a journal this size of this, which is a pretty good sized journal. I could just do this and make a normal size. So I don't know. I'll have to see what mood I'm in when I get ready to do that. Let me see what y'all are saying. Let me see. Yeah, they do. And I also did some green tea bags in this mixture. Thank you, Janet. And then the next thing that the girl in Australia did was once they were completely dry, here's the missing glassine from that other envelope. Once everything was completely dry, she stacked the whole thing under books, making sure that the paper was smaller than the books, and stacked it dry for 2 or 3 days. And they came out really flat and dry. I mean, really flat. It's just better than ironing them. Look at this. It bled onto this one. So like I said, I don't know why it worked once. I mean, worked on some of them and didn't on others. That's what caused some of these little ghosty marks on the stencils. And some of them wrinkled like that. I don't know the why of that either, but it's fine. Wouldn't that make a neat journal page? I'm okay with this super dark on the edge. That's where the liquid was concentrated around the edges of the bucket, as long as it's not sticky. And if it's sticky, then it needs to be re-wet and have some clean paper put on top of it. But this is just one session. I mean, it took maybe 30 minutes to load the paper. I did some 8.5 by 11. There's some more of that red. About 30 minutes for that, and then leave outside since it's summer. And as they dry, the top layers will kind of peel up. You can get those off and let the sun get the next layer. I brought mine in at night because I was moisture and stuff, although, you know, moisture and dew is not going to hurt it. I did fold a few of these to get some of those lines. I didn't get as many as I wanted. This side's all speckledy. So anyway, that was Sunday night. I did this, and of course the sun went down about the time I was getting finished, so I pulled it in, and then I put it back out yesterday, and forgot to put it out this morning, so that's why these are still wet. But I was ready to be done with it. And y'all know me by now. If Vicki's bored with something, Vicki's done. Watch for an invitation maybe tomorrow, because I want to try to do the mini cam again. I'll read more of the instructions this time. And I just had a Pyrex jar with a scrap of a washcloth to drizzle my paint all over it. The woman in Australia used a spray bottle. My God, my arm would be tired. But anyway, I think that's pretty cool. Now, where did you go? That's not it. We could do that. I just take pictures of things that strike my fancy. And not to paint just like them, but to paint something using a technique, or, you know, to make it look like that. Let me see if I can get that out of the way. Okay, how's everybody? Thank you, Madam Mandala. I'm glad you said hi. You can always catch it on the replay. Why is that, Joycey? Earmark one brush for tea and one for coffee. But I was using a washcloth. So tell me why. Tell me why you cried. Why you lied to me. I know, I'll keep my day job. I think I'm going to experiment with some colored pencil. Since that paper is so so unwatercolor paper. How's that for a sentence? Actually, parts of it aren't too bad. Her neck is too narrow, which we can take care of that. This is the brush that came in this journal. Remember this De La Rowney journal had a spot for a brush? And the brush is a number 6 Robert Simmons. It has no information at all. So I don't know if it's got to be synthetic because it bounces right back. I had a good time watching Lisa and Tanya today. Cool book structure they were doing. I'm drying the brush off and it makes it thirsty, and then it will pick up whatever is left. So that helps already. Dry brush, thirsty brush. Better, better. And now remind me to stay away from that. Let me dry it. Colored pencils will tear it up. I ask myself all the time, why do I even mess with journals that have bad paper if I'm going to watercolor in them? But I never get a good answer from me. I'm picking out some colors. I'm still liking my case that I got like Vaughn's. It's a little bit big for my studio though. I'll go ahead and get a white one out. I think it's this one. And actually what I was doing with these particular faces is practicing poses that are not full face forward. It's always good to practice. If I did 100 faces in a journal like this. Oh, I forgot. I got something else. Art Snacks. Remember the little company I had the subscription to? Has a little store, and they were closing these out. And it was either $15 or 20. I don't remember. But these are quinocridones. And I don't think I have them. And I got a Terra Rosa. They were just about out of everything of the watercolor stuff, or I would have told you guys about it. Get a piece of bee paper in there for something else. This is Terra Rosa. This is a color I use a lot in oil painting. And if not this exact tube of color, I mix it. It's a reddish brown, beautiful color. And of course, M. Graham. We're all in love with M. Graham. And this is Quin Violet. And when you're painting, don't ever take color right out of the tube. And they say don't ever paint with like if you have this one on your palette, don't ever paint with it straight. Always put something else with it. That's that. And I preface that by saying they said, okay, it's not me. But you do need to see this. I hate when this happens. This is Quin Rust, which is kind of like a raw sienna. The Quin colors are manufactured colors. Where am I going to put this? Right here. All of our colors now are pretty well determined by the car industry, the manufacturing industry. And most of these are synthetic instead of mineral. It still makes them pigments now. They're not dyes. This is Quin Rose. I know I've got it. But there's sometimes a difference between manufacturers. And Quin Red. Got another leaker. Well, that's awfully pink for Quin Red. Got a little bit of that squirting out too. It happens when they're in shipment. Doesn't mean a thing. It's a pressure thing. And then we have Quin. Oh, Quin? No, nickel quinacridone gold. It's kind of like nickel azo that I use in Golden's acrylic. That looks like a hot summer African color, doesn't it? So there you go. 6 new colors from my bulging watercolor bucket. Pretty, pretty. I hope I said hi to you, Christy. Oh, okay. Shit, I keep hitting the wrong button. Also, you know you have them for tea and coffee. Okay. Well, I'm using a, hey, Shauna, I need to talk to you, girlfriend. I'm testing Manicam and failed miserably today. Okay, I think I'm pretty much caught up. So there are the new ones for me in M. Graham. I desperately needed them. Problem was I didn't get to the mailbox before Randy did. Yeah, I do sometimes do that. As we're trying to get our um, monthly stuff down so we can live on our Social Security. That's a joke all by itself. Now, see how this is so harsh right in here? And of course, I've got some drawing lines. I like to leave drawing lines because it's the mark of the artist. It's your mark. It's obvious that it's an original. Very, very lightly. Just trying to even this out a little bit. Shauna, I said earlier, this journal is it's a good journal, but it's not watercolor paper. So I think I'm using it just to torture myself. Green. Do you know why I use green? Because green and red make a neutral, and green is cool. So that helps curve that edge of the face back away from the flat plane. I don't like to use blues because they look like a men's 8 o'clock shadow or 5 o'clock, whatever that is. So anywhere you've got a shape that's curling or, has 3D form on a face, green is what you want. So I used a little bit of blue right here. Ooh, that neck. I didn't finish it. I think Randy called for watching the news or something, so I just stopped. But when it's in a journal, that means it's practice. So these types of marks right here don't bother me at all. See how easy it was? Well, we haven't done it yet. Hello, that's the new deck. Jesus, Vicki. I'm making this up as I go along because this is the way this is also the way I make flesh tones, is by layering reds and yellows with the green. In oils, then you use white to get the different tones, and in watercolors, you use more water. It's harder to do it in watercolor. But by layering colors loosely like this, you can get a more realistic skin tone. Now, if you're doing illustration style, it doesn't matter. Flat faces and all that are good. You know, that's the style. I do more representational realism. I wish I was more disciplined with my art. I put too much effort and money into it not to be now. So I got started playing with books and journaling and playing with you guys. I was talking to Lena the other day and about why there aren't any fib groups for fine art. And it's because they don't do lives. And I thought, well, I could be the one that does it. And then I'm thinking, well, no, they don't really want to go on YouTube that much. So let me see what y'all are saying to me. Bye, Gail. Glad you came. Hey, Kathy. I'm thinking about your flowers. Thank you, Elaine. I'm going to do some of Kathy's flowers. She gave me permission to do that. And I've got a flesh color here. Just transition that a little. Anyway, she gave me permission to do some of her flowers. So I am. I love doing flowers. I just got to decide if I want them in oil or watercolor. Once I get the that sounds like nanny cam. Once I get it set up, then I can, it'll be a little more interesting when you can see the source. And you can watch the source as I play along. I'm really not looking at my photo now. I'm just trying to even out some of these skin tones. Back to my green. Give me a little illusion. Smear it with my finger. That ain't gonna do anything. I don't want to take away the watercolor look either. So some of the marks where the brush was and the colors didn't blend are fine with me. Over here it was just splotchy, so I didn't particularly care for that. I'm thinking right now of where the light is going to hit. And the upper lip is made up of circles. Circle, circle, and the bottom lip is like an oval. You'll hear all kinds of different stuff. But if that's true and they're balls, then this side will be just a hair lighter, and this will be just a hair lighter because that's where the light hits. But the top lip is in shadow, so it's not much of a color change. Just a little. Started out, add a little more color in there. I started out using the Pastel Dreams. Oh, you can't see that. And yeah, I know they're not real watercolor, but I don't care. I like having these pre-made colors because it gives you different effects. If you were ever going to paint this to sell or for commission, then and you like this color, then you would try to mix it in good watercolor, but it's already mixed here, so that's why I was using it. It doesn't have a dark though, so that's when I had to get going with some of my other watercolor. There's an artist, her name is Englehart, I believe. I never can remember it. I have to search it. But she has mastered um, being able to layer colors like a light purple and a light blue. And she does children. And I'm too tight to buy the CD that she's got. So every once in a while I get out some colors and try to do that. This area right here is the darkest spot on the face. Now this one is hitting the light from here, so it's not as dark. And we could use it a little darker. Black hair is difficult to get with watercolor. That's about as dark as you can get, unless you pull out the lamp black, which I didn't. This is a mixture of Pearline Green, alizarin crimson, and a dark blue out of the Sheminka kit. It's not an ultramarine, but that's usually what I use. Ultramarine and and then I threw in a little bit of Queen Gold. But if you mix 3 or 4 dark colors, you can control the tint of your black hair. For example, this is not very dark, but for example, black hair is never black. It will reflect things that are around it. And a lot of times you just get blues. My blue didn't show up. And I was timid. I didn't want to break the anyway, that makes black hair more interesting. And you can do that by, if you're mixing your own black, you can mix it to be a little more red, or you can mix it to be a little more green. Any of the colors that are in it, you can use. To add some interest to your black hair. Just keeps it from being boring. Always make your strokes as well the direction the hair goes. Okay, let me see what y'all are talking about. Elaine, they're just all mixed up. I've got all of my colored pencils in that suitcase mixed up by color or by value, more or less. So these two are in the same group of value. And well, that one probably would be too. And I usually try to do like 5 values. And that one might be with the orange. And the theory there is, I've told y'all this before, if you use, I've got this for my pastels, if you use the same value, and that's the same amount of darkness in an area, from a distance they all read as the same color. Now I didn't overlap those. Let's do the green one. This is a primitive example, but I don't want to upset my apple cart. Those are all the same color. I've got 4 colors in there. And if you close one eye and squint the other, they look like they're the same. That's the value in it. So then theoretically, if I'm in her hair and I'm in the dark, I could use any of these colors to make her black hair more interesting. And from a distance, it'll look like black hair. This one's a Prisma. They've got the best white for laying down color. Just soften that a little. And why am I doing this between the eyebrows? Because that's a curve. Your forehead bone or your eye socket bone comes out and back in. So when it starts to come back in, that's where it goes away from the light. So therefore, to make it curve, you make it cooler. So it's all about what basic shape. Like her face has circles. Her eyeball sits in a circle area about like that. So that means I would have some crease lines where the bone is. And the same here. So I would shade this like a circle. The light hits over here and it doesn't hit over there. And that's what makes it look round. Am I boring you guys? That was an awfully harsh line right there. Touching up these lines a little bit. Eyes also are not a flat color. They have several colors in them. to get a gold, a lot of times you can use blue, cobalt blue, and a yellow, like a cad yellow deep or a yellow ochre. And I don't use yellow ochre very much. The eyeball is shaded by both the lashes and by the curvature of the ball. See, it's not just a flat color. And the whites of the eyes are never white. Ever, ever, ever. It's taking pencil pretty good. I'm about ready to stop. I mean, you know, I could keep going forever, but this is another ball right here, and I don't have it accurate. And then this side, and then that's in shadow, so that part of the ball won't be there. Starts up at about the nostril, somewhere in that area. So there's your ball. You can see it now because it curves on that side. And it could do a little more there. Again, I'm not paying attention to the color so much as I am the value. And you do get a little bit of a light here, but it's not white. This particular type of lighting is what I always look for in a picture. And it's called Rembrandt lighting. And that is because in the old days, all they had was one window for light, or maybe candle. So if they only have a window coming in, they've only got one source. So if you point that light at an angle to the face, what you're after is to get this little triangle of light from where that light is positioned. And that is called Rembrandt lighting because that was mostly what he used in all of his pictures. And it's hard to find stock photos or freebie photos. They always tend to have over here, they may have a lamp or something. So you've got light coming from the lamp, you've got light coming from the outside. The lamp is yellow based, the outside is cool based. So it's really hard to achieve that unless you're controlling the narrative. You're doing the picture taking. Just doll her up just a little. The nose holes are never black and they're never great big. And this part of the nose almost always has a real bright orangey red. And that's because the middle of the face has the most blood flow. And that red also comes down into this nostril. I also don't have my eyeballs here are a little bit too defined. And I want to break them up just a hair. Because your eyes don't pull those into hard focus. I need some more dark over here. And over here. And the reason this is so dark is because her hair is casting a shadow. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it because she did have shorter hair. This was like a flapper. And Ziegfeld Follies, I found a lot of my source photos there. And they did use good lighting, traditional lighting for their when they photographed their models. So there you go, more than you ever wanted to know. Above all, you just want it to be interesting. And you can't make it interesting if your drawing is off. If you're out of drawing, then it doesn't matter what you do with color. You've got to have your drawing correct. Look at this, as long as we're having show and tell. The circle for the muzzle. On this side, the cheek goes in to the crease, so it gets a little bit of shading right here. And it is supposed to be a little cooler. I don't have much there. And then this part of the lip comes out. So that's where your light is going to hit. And there's some detail in there that I'm not going to go into. But on this side, it's the opposite. The lip curves in, so it's dark. And the cheek comes out, so it's light. Isn't that cool? All right, I'm going to get this baby turned back around and go on to my finish this one or work on this one. This one's weird, and I'm practicing, so keep that in your mind. And again, I started with, I started with different colors and skin tones. I'm picking up that same splotchy stuff because of the paper. And oh, well, here's kind of what I mean on illustration work. Look at the green she's got in that side. So I'm not the only one. But they're not meant to be realistic. And either style is fine. I mean, I try to do them both. I'm not very good at that one. Okay, I remember. I need to do some more of this kind of stuff. Randy's mother was Japanese, and she took a lot of classes in this stuff. We've got all of her, oh crap, the thing just flew out of my brain. Containers and stuff. But it'd be fun to paint some stuff that she had pictures of. This is Randy when he was bitty baby. And number 3, grandkid, looks just like that. I think that's cool. Okay. What did he do, Vicki? What did he do? This one. Now let me check chat. Hi, CB. Yeah, they're big though, and they're made out of cast iron. That's an enameled cast iron, and they might be 24 inches by 12. Great big trays, and they're about this deep. It almost takes 2 people to pick them up. Okay, I need to have a drink of water. Now see where I used some of those colors from here? Blues, the purple, one of these greeny colors. But we're not going to go ahead and we're not going to talk about that paper anymore. I can still get the benefit of practicing. That is not where you want to do that. And that's not the one I put the paint off into. Put the paint, oh, there it is. There's that new stuff. I'm trying to, there, that helps. Good coffee. Looky there, looky there. She's got a little white spot on her cheek. You can barely see it from where y'all are. And don't scrub with your brush the way I just did. Wet it. Let it sit for a minute. And then blot it with something that's clean. And a tissue works great. It works better than paper towels. I have scrubbers that are meant for this purpose, but they will tear your paper up. And particularly on this, you're not going to get very much of it because the paper is going to fill up. Now I'm going to use a dry brush. And I'm going to make that a little more of a triangle shape. This isn't the Rembrandt lighting, but it, you know, we're playing. And y'all have heard me say this before too, I believe. It doesn't matter what, if you're gonna mix your skin tones, it does not matter which red, green, red, yellow, and blue you use. I think that was part of the experiment over here. Yeah, these are different red, greens, and blues. So you just get a different tone. Kind of fun to know. Very, very faint. She's got a, right here, she's got a glow that's coming from somewhere over on the right side. And there is a glow painted in there. Yeah, let's see. Let's go get some green. Not that green. And don't mix the colors together solid in your thing. Don't blend them until they're completely, they've lost their personality. Here I go with my green again. Make that face turn. And I like that, so I'm going to use a little more right up in here. My brush is a little small. See, I've already got some green up in there. But it was the one that came in this book, so I'm using it. And remember, when you lay down any kind of paint, do a long stroke And use the belly of your brush. And try not to do this thing. A, you'll wear out your brush, and B, you won't get a smooth line. I'm just following shapes. I love these high intensity lights. That's what I was telling Kathy I like about um, her flowers, because this kind of thing going on where I can really develop have fun developing the shadow and everything. Right here where this face turns, you get a little bit of the cad red. There's a name for it. I can't tell you what it is. But it's where the form changes from shadow to light. There's usually a little line of a orangey red. And you see it in areas like that, and you'll see it in areas right in here. You won't see it so much here because that's all in the light. And I just mix around. I don't follow a formula. If I want this color, which is my yellowish goldish color, to have a little more pink in it, then I just do that. Don't make it hard on yourself, because you can't memorize formulas. I dare you. You can train your brain to look for mixes that you've used before. Now I'm softening that line a little bit before it dries. I'm going to leave that one. Not unhappy with that. But if you can learn to see that this is not quite yellow, then add a little more pink to it and you've got what you want. I'm going to exaggerate that just a hair. I was just doing the blendy thing with my brush. Y'all got to watch me. You will see that red thing that I'm talking about right here. I jumped up last night and left some hard edges. But the light is the secret. Here's some more of my red that I told you about. Now I got a little bit wide right there. It's just a sliver. And like I said, it's got a name. I just can't remember. And we need a dark. Ah, you know better than that. You gotta wait for it to dry. Alrighty. Now we gotta do some work on that neck. And you can't really see it, so. And she's got right here, not better drawn in, but she painted over it, a light mark where her, I forget what you call that bone. Anyway, neck bone. We'll call it a neck bone. And I'm going to put a little purple. That is a little purple. Not much pigment in there. That's blue. I'll have blue, it's okay. Now I can see, and I'm just going to wet this edge and let it bleed. I'm also doing what I tell y'all never to do, is paint flat. But if I try to raise this to an angle where it's best for the painting, y'all won't see it. And I just mixed up a little of that red that we were using with, it's either Indian yellow. Yeah, it's Indian yellow in this kit. And I just went over my, this is where I try not to dry with a hairdryer, because I want the pigments to mix on their own, like I'm getting right here. That's where the beauty comes in it to me. Mixing that just a little bit more color. And that may be just too much, but we're going to see. Leave alone, Vicki. And now we bring this over just a hair. I'm following the shadow line right here under her neck. It comes on down. And that lighter tone. It's perfectly okay to trace your faces. If you're practicing drawing, then you'll want to practice drawing your faces. If you want to practice painting, trace them. Adding that purple right in here. I'm probably going to get some bleed back, some balloons, because I didn't wait until that was dry. Soak up some of that water and see what happens. And again, those don't bother me. In a casual style, this doesn't bother me. Okay, so we need just a hair. We've got a turn going from light to dark right here. And then we ease off into dark. And also over here, this one comes about right in here. And then this comes in darker. I forgot how I mixed that mauve color. Let's see, I used purple. Now, if you were using a big palette with tube paint, use some blue. And I used, I think this. Close. Need a little more of this purple. You could mix up a big puddle of what you're using on your big palette and leave it, and then you don't have to remix this little amount. Oops. Now we have just some. That looks dirty. And so does that. Thin it out real good. This will be ever so much easier in oil. So I want this to be white. These are like vertical columns. And this side is hitting close to the light and then darker over there on the other side. We're getting some neat blooms. See, just by letting the paint mix on its own, you get some pretty neat stuff. Put it and leave it. That looks like it's staining. I quite like that. Now, if you could develop that into a style, ooh, that'd be cool. Now I'm going to come in here with some of this dark. This area is the same as what I told you before. This is the darkest area. And this is a cast shadow, so it's going to have a sharper edge than a form shadow, which are these, or like that. The cast shadow has a hard edge. This is a form shadow, so I don't want a hard edge there. You can kind of see, y'all can't, but I can. You can kind of see that nostril. Soften that just a hair because that is form. And this is from her nose. I have a little bit of a shadow here for her chin. Again, that's a form because it's going into the dimple. That looks like a butt. Butt. Who's got the butt? Okay, I'm gonna check on you guys. Hey, Tanya. We're just working. Oh my God, I gave her a bloody nose. We can have a drawing thing one day on these. Now I need to get rid of this. I'll let that go too long. I've got my cotton gauze diaper over my shoulder that I swish my brush on when I don't want it to be wet. I'm just wanting to soften this just a little so it doesn't show when I add some more color. The reason that I lift like this is because I want to do the least amount of damage to the paper as I can, especially this. Okay, now we want to come right here. And I'm going to put a little bit of gold right here. Okay, now there's a little bit of a shadow right here. I mean, a highlight. About like that. I keep getting switched over to another channel, probably my hand. I just jumped off and left that, didn't I? Okay, now that dark comes here. Add some blue to make that a little more interesting. And around here. And then that shadow also falls over her lip. It's a little bit more mauvey than that. Now, we've got a darker coming here and here. And that right in there. Add some blue. Brushing too much. Y'all need to stop me. Adding a little bit of blue in here. It may blossom on me, but too much water. I'm playing paper, fool the paper over here. I want to make sure that I soften that. Now this edge right here on our little highlight is soft because this is the cast shadow. See, her nose isn't quite as bloody there. I'm going to take out just a little bit of it. If you're more careful putting it in, then you don't have to worry about taking it out. That's where that white pencil comes in handy. Or if you're using gouache, you can do that too. And I've got a little bit of a thing around her nostril. That whole thing is out of drawing. Quit scrubbing. See if we can get a little nose hole in there. And some of the dreaded red. I'm gonna lighten that just a hair. Don't panic. And that back out. Now this over here is a whole lot darker than what I have it. Now I think it's going to be better if I go ahead and do her eyes. Sometimes I do the eyes right off the bat. If I were doing this for real, I mean I would get this picture into my Photoshop and adjust the colors. All right, now what you gonna do? That whole thing needs to be glazed again. Glazing, put it down and leave it so that you do not disturb the layer that's under it. I'm not liking this over here, but it's about too late to fix it. That might be enough. Because this is a cheekbone. She's got big old cheekbones. It's a little bit dark, but you got too much of a hard line right there. I'm having to compensate for this paper. Put it on, take it off. Put it on, take it off. Time flies when you're having fun. What was that? I saw that right here. Okay, teeth are never white. I'm going to get a real thin bluish color. And for a fact, this one is in shadow, which means it could have a little more blue. And over here, and just a little bit of a tooth mark. Better. We need some more dark up in there. I'm going to dry that a little bit so I can get that side going again. Whoops. I'm being real cautious over here because I want it to be dark, but not as dark as. Getting there. Okay, while that dries, I'm going to check with you guys. Yes, soften with more water once it's completely dry. I got it pretty wet there, pulling pretty wet. Now let that. Now we'll come back in with some of this. And some of that bluish color. Now we'll let that dry. And make sure I've got a soft edge. Dry brush. Okay, see, that's better already. Does that answer your question, Azure? I got rid of most of it. I could have gotten more, and I could come back over it with another layer and still get more. Let's do something about those eyes. Because she'll come to life. The light is coming through her eye. That's what I was just looking at. So it's really drastic change. It's not so much over here, but it's still there. Okay, she is looking a little better. I think we need to do something about hair. Doing dry brushing. I hardly have any paint, any water. That will help as much as anything to help her look better. I don't really think she has a big old thing up there, but I mean, like, don't get too nitpicky in some of these cases. That's a good place for some drippies. Get untangled from everything here. show you in just a minute. I don't use red for drippies because it looks too much like blood. Sometimes a spray bottle helps a lot. A little bit of dark red. Alrighty. Need some more of that black I told y'all about. I don't know what that is. It's kind of a mauve color thing. Yeah. Blue. And dark. See? It's almost black. Oh, now don't do that. Thank you. That didn't exactly do. I don't paint eyelashes. I paint shapes. Um, oh, what happened here? When did that happen? It looks like Dracula. Need some cooling up in that wrinkle. Yeah, I need some over here too. Dry brush, and I'm going to pull some of that blue back there. Poppy must be home. And this eye over here is looking really strange. Y'all still with me? A little bit of this right in here. This area is kind of nasty. Go for the big brush. Color right there just for shadows. Okay, so who else is still with me? Okay, I see. Okay, whoop, damn it. Sorry. Did answer it. And one more question. Have you tried using granulating medium? I'm not granulating color or low granulating? Yeah, I can. I have. Let me think where I've done it. I did it with some samples. Let me look just one place, and if I don't find it here, Oh, hell, I'll just get some. My cookies. Yeah, that's it, I did. It's not where it lives. Okay, I found one. It's the one I knew I had. You gotta be careful with granulation, or at least be aware around the granulate. I don't believe I should put some of that right there. I'm just gonna just dip in and get some, mix into my paint. I may not have had it wet enough. Let's do that again. You're not going to get as much granulation as you get from the factory, but you will get some. They have chemists who do all this stuff for them. Good. Smiling, smiling, smiling. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's okay to have around. I've had that jar probably 15 years, so does that give you any idea? I would rather work with a Daniel Smith granulating color. But you can begin to see that it is doing a little bit of something. And I also did a test with, let me sit that right there, with the iridescent medium. My book is falling apart. Damage your chest, move the phone. This is tests of stuff. Y'all bear with me. May not be where it is. But then on the other hand, it might be. That's a big color. Need to go through this store more often. I probably have some stuff that I need to use. I don't even recognize part of these. Golden. Decor. Okay, it's not looking very promising. Kind of interesting. Here I am playing with glimmer mists. The new company is not going to keep any of their colors, but glimmer mist. Okay. Alright. It could still be in there. But I will see what I can find. Because I remember testing that and the iridescent medium. I see some. It's not much, and I'll put a whole brush full in that. So that might answer your question there. Yeah. All right, let's get a lot in that and see if we can salvage this. If this were real paper, I wouldn't get all this splotchy. It doesn't bother me down here. If we go too much further, let's put the shadow. Blackening her eye with a Sharpie. And your highlight colors are not all in one spot. They're moisture, so they kind of jump around. Okay, now let's see if we can fix this the same way we did I'm down to 6 inches. That's part of the course. slide just looks like it fell out where it was supposed to be. Oh, she doesn't have outlets either. Well, her eye does kind of look like that. You never know. It's just a little bit showing. Oh, things don't go your way, you can always blame it on the paper. The nose is so foreshortened, it really doesn't. I'm not getting it here. But it's, it's close. That's not right. I think I've said just about all I have to say here. Spend another several hours on it. I'm not sure I will do it any good. Some of it I like pretty good. As far as watercolor goes, I've got some, you can obviously tell it's watercolor. I don't know what's going on there, but I'm leaving it. Boy, what a day. What a day I ended up with for myself. Does it say what's in it? If you can help me find it. Oh, there it is. Increases granulation of color. Dilute color generously with medium alone and always work with painting horizontal. It's a product of France. It's Winsor Newton, and it does not say what's in it. So your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, I'm sure they've got good demos. Their online stuff is awesome. Yeah, the troop here is hungry too, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna do another test on Minicam. And just give us some more options, and then I know I can use StreamYard and have company, because company would help with something. I love this little blue mark right there. Yeah, on 1 to 10, I'd probably give her a 6. Okay. I am so glad y'all stuck with me today. Through all the chaos, you do see how to fix things. That's one thing for sure here. And that's all I got to say about that. See ya. Bye. I love you. Thursday, 4 o'clock.